Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than getting schooled by a Miata that's on a set of track tires and he's got some decent coilovers. He'll make you look bad.
Yeah.
Tires are expensive and
they're
a bit of an investment. So, but it's super overlooked.
Welcome to another episode of Modify with TrickFactory Customs. If this is your first time watching, my name is Elvis.
Tim?
Rob.
Awesome. And we started this podcast because we love to talk about cars. We are a custom automotive shop based here in Coquitlam, British Columbia, Canada. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about top 5 most underrated car mods or most overlooked car mods.
Oh.
Yes, because I was reflecting internally and and growing up as a car enthusiast, there were things that I thought or I did not think of when I was building some of my cars. Mm-hmm. For example, my Dotson, I put a Steelies on it, and each of those Steelies with the fat wheels and tires, 275 60/15s, very heavy tire. Each wheel and tire weighs about 70 pounds, 60, 70 pounds. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I remember when we weighed it. Yeah. And so that kind of got me thinking. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're going to dive into that, but it is a disaster to drive. Like it saps so much power.
Slow.
And so that kind of got me thinking. I'm like,
you probably went from 50 horsepower that thing's rated at to like
30.
75.
Yeah.
And so we're going to dive into all of that on this episode. So before we get started, though, how has the week been for you guys?
How was your week, Tim? What'd you do this week?
I did big Viper things this week.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a sick Viper.
So
You guys,
sick.
I think you got some footage of that. You made a video or no?
No.
That's too bad.
I'm not gonna make a full video on it, but I'm probably gonna put it in the shop update if it's here long enough.
Yeah, you guys have to pay attention to that because it's a cool car.
Yeah, I did a full build in 2 days.
Full build.
Full build.
So
I did a whole build.
this car's come back to us now a couple times, and in this iteration, you did a full
we did a bunch of
exhaust swap on it.
The headers, exhaust, pulled the intake. We did a bunch of Cerakoting on it, refinishing of a bunch of different pieces, interior pieces, engine pieces, added a whole bunch of other little knickknacks and dad bolt-on stuff. So I think there's like 9 or 12 boxes of bolt-on things.
Oh my gosh.
It's interesting because like we had these boxes show up and we're like, okay, we're doing an exhaust system on the Viper and that's cool. You're like, oh, right on. So doing an exhaust system, headers in the Viper was kind of a new thing because we actually hadn't done that here in this shop yet. And that was a new learning experience. There was a lot more to it than
more than I would have thought.
You typically would have think.
Just to even get them in there.
Yeah.
Lift the engine, pull the cowl, airbox, hold like coolant, all kinds of things. Like basically everything is in the way of the headers.
Oh my god.
And then you gotta lift the motor to be able to get the stock ones out to be able to start getting the new ones back in. So it was a pretty big job. The actual swapping of the headers part took like 20 minutes. Being able to get at them took probably 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours.
I mean, you might suspect that would be the case, but you don't really know until you're in it. But like the Vipers, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a super small car by any means, but it's got some really tight packaging. Yeah. And that's a huge engine. It's a V10.
Massive.
What is it? It's like
8.4 liters.
8.4 liter V10.
It's a thick boy.
It takes up all the space in there, and it's intense.
Well, I feel there's still a lot of space. It looks like, though, at least from the engine to the front wheels, it's like it's almost like a mid-engine car. Honestly,
there's room for turbos.
There's so much room.
Yeah. It really gets you thinking. I know. I really, really want one now.
Yes, I love that car.
I really want one, but I don't want a very good one because I just want to chop it up and manipulate it.
There's lots left on the bone with that car. It's a scary car, though.
Yeah.
It is not.
No nannies. No
nannies.
Yeah.
Like, you got to set that car up nice or it'll kill you.
Yeah. We've probably all seen lots of videos of Vipers just
crashes.
Randomly like turning right on a straight line.
Yep.
So today after this podcast, I got to put the Dodge race only PCM in it and do some programming, and it was pretty gnarly before that. So after that, it's going to be crazy.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sounds.
That's
so
a cool
good.
car. That's what you were doing. That's
pretty much
most of your week. Yeah,
most of my week. Yeah. It was a short week this week because of the holidays. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. This week I've been still on the Skylark, but I've been working. It basically took me all of a week to do the front window flushing on that. So it's a pretty intense modification. It is a convertible, so there's a lot of things going on, a lot of considerations. The exterior and interior A-pillar caps, the header, inside and outside caps for the convertible top to land on, and all of those things we're refining all of those shapes, and they all play with the flushing of the windshield.
It's a tremendous amount of work for a very subtle modification.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we went forward and decided to do it with the factory glass, so that at any point in time you can just make call up your local glass supply and be like, I need a 69 Skylark front windshield. You can put it into this car after the fact, because it's not some custom bespoke one-off windshield.
There is some platforms that they do make flush mount glass for, but if that company ever goes out of business,
that's it. You're never getting
You're never getting one. Now your $300 windshield turned into like a $3,000 or $4,000 windshield.
Yeah, and we've heard these horror stories before. We decided not to do that, so that just meant a heck of a lot more work for us. And I don't even think they would. I doubt any of those companies would even make something for this car, because this Skylark is kind of obscure. Like, nobody really has played with it, and that's kind of why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that's what I've been doing all week.
Yeah.
And I just wrapped that up right at the end of the week.
Woohoo! That's awesome.
So I think Elvis has been capturing. You've been capturing lots of footage on that.
Yes, lots of footage.
I've been capturing a little bit myself. We'll put it all together. You'll probably put together a cool little video for that.
Yeah, for some reason, people on YouTube don't seem to like the Skylark very much.
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
Not a very popular.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was before I started working here. I was like, what's a Skylark?
Yeah.
But
no, it's a dope car, and it's a huge build for us.
Yeah, it's massive. We're building it from scratch.
Everything about it is custom one-off. We're doing a lot of really wild things.
Roaster shop chassis.
We got the Wagner supercharged LS-based engine, and it's like 1,500 horsepower on race gas.
Yeah.
Pump gas just over 1,100, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's in this car. Full one-off interior, the whole thing.
So it's a big build.
It's a big build.
YouTube for some reason doesn't like it, but we'll still keep on posting.
We're gonna post it up anyway.
Yeah,
so
people,
regardless,
I know people love the Lambo more.
They like the Hot Wheels stuff.
Yeah,
I really don't care. Regardless of people out there in the digital realm or watching, if they hit the like button or share, I don't care.
Yeah.
We're doing it because we're doing it for ourselves and for our client.
It's a really fun build.
And follow along if you like that. If not, that's cool.
I love it. I love all the details going into it. But yeah, Lambo stuff also happening. More Lambo stuff happening today. Steve, he was supposed to be here with us, but he's busy wiring up the Lambo.
Yeah,
Lambo
so big moves in that.
Yeah, we should be seeing Boost today, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, all pretty fired up about that.
Trying to sneak those into the cracks of our work schedule. So
we have I don't even know what year is that. It's like a
2005
2003 2003 Chevy Tahoe, and it became our platform to use because the chassis dimensions and everything worked out
with the Lamborghini.
It came from the factory with an LS. So bonus.
Yeah.
We put a Holley Terminator X Max.
Twin turbos.
So actually I spent part of yesterday plumbing up the turbo system so we can get Boost and put a tune in it today. So
that's going to be another cool step forward. We're going to blow the tires off that vehicle.
Awesome.
And then we're going to get a little bit wild with that Tahoe chassis. And right after that, we're going to be doing a body swap. So we're moving forward on that.
Yeah.
And you've been capturing lots of footage on that too.
Oh, yeah. So that's been fun. That's been glorious.
Even he's bored with what's going on.
I know. It just doesn't happen fast enough.
What's going on?
Elvis is so disappointed with all the like. What is all this work?
Yeah,
shit
what
that
is
you're doing? Why do we just drop the body on this thing?
I know. Come on, man.
There's so much boring, tedious,
Ugh.
stupid stuff.
So-
Well, you have to do a lot of this stuff to get through to the fun stuff. So.
Yeah, and I think underneath all of this is like we're doing all this in our own time, like after hours
Yep.
stuff, and you know, fortunately we love this kind of stuff, so it's not that much of a burden, but it does come at a little
It's
bit
hard
of
to
a
find
cost.
time to do it.
Yeah, it is.
So
But
And
it's cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing that thing boosty boy.
Yeah, and it takes longer than you would think because with YouTube, you're like, oh, you don't realize, for example, this last video that we literally put in a month's work or a month's worth of work, like almost like
just
every
like-
every weekend, just
A little bit of
doing
time
this.
here, a little bit of time here. It's really hard to find that time nowadays. The sun's shining now, and with that in our shop comes like
Very busy.
just like we get like overwhelmed with inquiries and work that we have to have ready for this coming
you
season.
see how
right?
wild my day gets.
So it,
Doesn't make
it
any
gets to
sense
be a
to
little
it.
much.
Yeah, there's an SLS just sitting back there. Oof, we see the doors a little bit. Just
I think
peeking.
someone commented in one of our like we shouldn't talk shit unless we have better cars.
Yeah, SLS.
Yeah, they did say that, didn't they? Yeah. Maybe we should start doing
think
like
right
the
now we
Canapa
have-
thing
we have
and
the-
just do a walk around.
We have a Viper. We have the SLS. We have the Supra MK4. We have a 32 Ford, 2 Corvettes, and a fully built C10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not to
And if
mention,
those aren't your
off camera,
flavor-
there's another
Downstairs and the
Hater.
other shop.
Yeah.
So
We got
Custom
wide
chopper.
body, Porsches and all of these other wild things in the background too. So
yeah, it's getting very busy in the summer. So
I feel like you should do a walk around. We just like walking through, and just like Tim can like point and talk a little bit about some of these things. I'd like to see that.
every someone actually commented on that too.
What's
they were
that?
like, do a walk through of the whole shop,
The whole shop.
all the cars
Oh man,
in the shop,
dude.
everything. I think we should.
Okay, so I mean, we've been doing this for a while. There's a lot of history with a lot of these things that you see here, just in the background. I mean, we could have like an hour-long video.
Yeah. Yeah,
really
I think
made
we
it.
should try and see what happens. There's a lot of bikes all over the place here. It's crazy.
Yeah, because
Pretty
most
wild.
people probably don't realize it, but TrickFactory used to be like huge in the bike scene. We did a lot of chopper stuff. Tim and I have been riding sport bikes our entire lives, and that's a big part of our core. So yeah, there's a lot of bike stuff in the background too.
Awesome. So, with that said, let us get started.
What was
So-
our topic again, Elvis?
Top 5. There's probably going to be more than 5 or less than 5, but top 5 most underrated car mods or underappreciated car mods or most
Undervalued?
overlooked car
Overlooked.
mods. Yeah. Those are all synonyms, I guess. And so who wants to start?
Tim?
sure.
Yeah.
I think we touched on it in our last podcast. I'd say the single biggest one that's super overlooked, especially I would say in the younger crowd, is quality tires.
Oh, yes.
And I think that probably bridges all age groups until anybody really experiences what that actually defines. Then yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I don't think a lot of people consider it as a mod, but once you get into the upper level of cars, you'll see like a vast difference in the different of what it comes with, and then you put good tires on it.
Yeah.
I think everybody says the same thing as soon as they put new tires on. They're like, oh man, this thing feels so good.
Yeah.
Regardless, even if they're just cheap tires. But if you took it to another level where you actually put a quality tire on, it's dramatic.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things. What's better than a fresh set of tires?
Yeah.
Like you said, regardless if they're performance spec or what, but like just fresh, you're just like, oh yeah, that's
It
nice.
feels good.
Yeah.
Like, because
It's confidence inspiring.
it is very confidence inspiring because I gave this episode or gave this instance in one of the previous episodes, but I drove on track. I used to drive on track more, but when I lived in California, but I always used cheap tires. I had a 370Z. Always used cheap tires until one day, like Nankangs or a friend of mine had the same car, a 370Z, but he had Michelin pilots on it. I forgot which type of pilots they were, but
you had me at Michelin.
My gosh, felt
Michelin.
Like I didn't, because I always had an issue with my car. It didn't have as much grip as I was expecting. And the way I would see some of these guys just go around corners, Miatas are like dusting everyone. Like not all of them, but like some Miatas were just so good. And even with like 100 and something, I had like 350 horsepower, and they were faster than me a lot of times.
And you're just like, what is
happening?
Here?
Yeah. But I was still having fun. I was still like, la da da. But then a friend of mine, I drove his car on track, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like it was instantly from the first gear change, the second gear change, around every corner, you could just tell that these like tires were so important.
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely got to be right up there on the top of the list.
So you almost had the whole thing backwards.
How?
You should be using the Nankangs for your daily commute and put the good tires on at the track.
Yeah.
But tires are expensive, and they're a bit of an investment. So but it's super overlooked.
I think it's a worthy investment to, save your money and get the absolute best, regardless if it's a track build or a car. Track car or a street car.
Yeah.
Because in the street, what's more important than maximizing your car's potential for braking distance improvements and the sound levels of a car? Like, I don't think a lot of people really realize just how much noise one tire compared to another tire makes when it's rolling. Like, it's a big deal.
So there's a lot of
huge improvements.
We see it a lot because we get a lot of like high-end performance cars, and you'll see cheap tires on them. But basically all those ratings that come in the car, your quarter mile times, your track times, all this stuff is based on a very specific tire.
Yep.
And then you go anything less than that, you can just throw all that away.
Yeah, if you got a performance car and you go like in like a lower tier tire,
but we see a lot because some of those tires are super expensive. We get stuff with weird weird sizes with 21s and all this kind of stuff, and they can be like not so much anymore because it's more common to have those larger sizes, but previously we'd have tires that are $1,500-$1,700 a piece.
And when you think of
to the point where it almost makes you want to change the diameter of your wheel
to get to
a different
a cheaper
well, yeah, if you have say like a 21 rear and a 19 front wheel on your factory car, those used to be like really unusual size diameters, and then like your tire choices were extremely limited, right? So what can you do? Do a 20 and a 22, or you know what I mean? Like if you go to like that next one, like there's a balance point in all of that.
Yeah.
So previously, like to what he's saying is like we do like luxury SUVs, and they come with 21s. So there'd be a lot of times that it was actually cheaper for us to put a decent tire and a new set of rims on it, and upsize it to a 22 for less than what a brand new set of 21-inch tires alone.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that stuff was dealer specific.
Yeah.
So like there's some Audis, there's some like big BMWs that had like these proprietary tires that they've worked out some tire deal with, and then they're just then they
monopolize it because
they take advantage of it.
Yeah. It's like they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose. Like Harley Davidson had like their own specific tires.
And it's not even the top models. Like there's like some 335 XIs that like there's only one size of tire, and because it's X-Drive, you're stuck to that tire size. And if you mess it up, it starts giving you problems and wiping diffs out and a bunch of different stuff.
That's so weird.
Yeah. So there's a lot to think about and consider, and just like, really put a lot of like emphasis on choosing good tires. Use like a Miata as an example. It can only fit so big of a tire in the back. So if you put a huge engine in the front and you're making all kind of crazy power, but you can only run so big of a tire in the back, you're going to be limited the amount of grip that you're going to get. So you're going to want to choose the best possible brand of tire for the maximum grip potential to balance out with the power potential. Yeah, tires are super important.
Yeah. So, next underrated mod.
Next
suspension.
Okay.
Yeah, suspension. Like dampeners,
this is all
spring and dampener combos and things like that, like coilovers.
Drivability before power adders, like almost building your platform before you put a bunch of crazy power in it.
Okay.
So I'd say suspension is a huge one. Like
I'm huge for
What
that.
part?
I love
What part
that.
does suspension play?
even if you're doing springs or going to a better quality coilover, and then you can, carry on from there. And like, you don't necessarily need to make the jump all the way to coilovers. You can put in a good quality strut and a better quality spring, maybe upsize your sway bars, and then you can get into bushings and all these things before you even need to transition into coilovers. Because the biggest thing with coilovers generally is you want the adjustability of what it offers.
Yes.
But the reality is most of us in our street cars, even if you're mildly performance minded, you're going to set it and kind of forget it. So unless you're manipulating it all the time and you have a need for that and you have a daily that you do track, then coilovers are definitely a benefit. But for most people, they're not necessarily. I mean, it's the bar that everybody wants. We all want coilovers. But to our detriment, most people buy cheap coilovers that make it worse than having maybe put a good quality spring in and a set of sway bars. They'll just jump all the way to some junk coilovers and make your car worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that modification, I think, is definitely something that's more or less important depending on the platform you're driving. Like if you're driving a Ferrari, if you put aftermarket stuff on it, it might be going backwards. But if you're driving, we're going to use the Honda Civic again because its intended purpose in life is to be like
economy box.
An economy box, like point A to B in the most economical way possible. And that does not mean, so it's going to be soft in its suspension. It's going to be compliant, and everything about it is going to be kind of just, you're just, But so if you do, like, if you want to perform slightly better, you want to, maybe you did like a couple of mods to it. You got a little bit more power. You already made the choice. You got some good tires. Well, good tires with really soft suspension is only going to take you so far. It's going to be a good option, but like the next good step, a good spring and dampener package to make it actually use the available traction and stiffen it up a little bit. Most of us appreciate cars that are usually lower, so you're going to need to have some sort of lowering spring, and with that, usually you're going to want to upgrade your dampener as well, or your shock, whatever your package is, so that it's using its stroke within the available ride height that you're setting it to. That's a pretty long. There's a lot coming out right there, but I think that's a huge improvement.
Yeah, and it's super underrated because as soon as any one of us drive a car like that, I don't know what's the phrase that it's like on rails.
Oh yeah.
You don't need a crazy amount of horsepower to make that car fun, like Miatas, Civics, any of those cars that are sort of your traditional entry-level track cars. That's why those cars shine. Like, you put some suspension in it and you can drive it fast.
Yeah,
like you don't need a lot of horsepower to go fast, but you can stay fast.
Yeah,
and that's where all the suspension comes in.
Yeah.
So sure, you can slap a turbo on and make. I'm not even going to quote a number, but you know what I mean. Like, then you're always trying to catch up, but you can build it with suspension and you can stay fast. You're not trying to catch up all the time.
Yeah.
So there's always those guys like, I got this much horsepower, and it's like they're always playing the catch up game.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than getting schooled by a Miata that's on a set of track tires and he's got some decent coilovers. He'll make you look bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most likely that Miata, he's out there burning laps. He's doing lap after lap after lap all day long, probably because maybe at most he's put in a K&N air filter, an aftermarket exhaust. Probably hasn't gone crazy and opened up his engine and gone for maximum performance. Maybe a turbo. I don't know. You know what I mean? Not chasing huge numbers, but going out there for chassis upgrades first. I think that's the smart play.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense if you're just doing it to a dedicated street car, because on the streets you can't really you can't be pulling hardcore G-forces in a corner on the street. You just don't do that. So it's not super practical to go hardcore. It
You're
depends
wrong.
on your point, man.
Man,
He's wrong.
these kids are gonna trash you.
They might.
You need to go hardcore.
But that's okay.
If your teeth are not chattering, you're not going
doing it
hard
well.
enough.
Yeah.
Hey, I was one of those kids.
So was I. But
At one point.
Yeah.
it's funny because I get all these Civic kids just talking me. But my first car, like not my first car. My first car was actually a Datsun 240 that was horrible. But I had a Civic Si EG hatch, and I had all the and we were cranking. We'd be doing, off ramps on the freeway, and I'd be hanging a back wheel. Like I pushed that car hard.
So I remember.
And I had all the things. And it's like the evolution started there, which I can appreciate that everybody has to start someplace. But at the same time, the evolution continues where you start getting smarter, because that car was not a good car to drive daily. Like it was fun for that specific purpose, but you're going to mature and you're going to progress into these better things.
Yep.
And it's easy to say when you're young that you're not going to, like, no, this is it. Like,
Just wait.
you just wait. After a while, you're like, this is some bullshit.
Yeah, the same thing with my Dotson again. Initially, when I got it, I was like, I'm just gonna get the cheapest coilovers that I could. Got the cheap coilovers, and I was like, I just need a lower ride height. It's gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And after driving it around for a while, I mean, maybe a year-ish, it was fine. Not really, but like it is terrible.
The novelty wears off pretty quick.
It wears off so fast.
And that's why you probably see more of these project vehicles or, these things just sitting all the time.
Yep.
Because it's not that fun.
No.
Like if you don't make the right choices.
Harsh suspension, your back, you're going to the chiropractor
Not
all the time.
Yeah, but that's old people shit.
Yeah.
When you're 21,
Yeah, I'm just
That's
getting
you
old.
don't care about that
Yeah,
stuff.
true.
You want it, like, that's the thing, being uneducated at that time, you want it to be as harsh as possible.
Yeah,
That means
race car.
like,
Race car.
I'm full race.
If it says
No.
race use only, it's like, yes.
No, it's funny you mentioned this too, because even in F1, I just saw the previous season of Drive to Survive, or maybe the newest season, the start of this 2022 season, you could see a lot of their cars, they almost had no suspension travel, and so they called it porpoising.
Yeah.
Like back and forth, like 100 to 200 miles per hour. They're just going down and up like that, and so they had to. I think what they had to do to solve it, a lot of the teams, was they had to add some ride height and like soften into the suspension a little bit, just so it's not, because at like 100 miles per hour or even above that, like it's almost dangerous to your body.
You're
It
losing
was.
contact patch.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
problem. The tires are leaving the ground.
Yeah.
Maybe only for a split second, but at that speed, that's like, it could be 5 or 6 feet of travel before it touches down again.
Yeah, you watch those videos of those drivers, and they're being chattered at speed. Like, can you imagine how dangerous that must be?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk. So Lewis Hamilton being one of the premier drivers, and the Mercedes team, like they struggled
It was bad
for the whole
season. Yeah.
and they couldn't get the porpoising thing sort of dialed, and that was a unique phenomenon for the 2022 season, because they had to completely rebuild the whole chassis with the new rules. But anyways, long story short, it's not cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not cool. Okay. Next thing, or next mod, underrated mod.
I say wheels.
Yes, I was going to say that too. Wheels are so important.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing with wheels. It plays into the other two things we just talked about.
Yeah.
Like rotating mass is a massive, massive thing.
So for those people that don't know what rotating mass is, can you explain it and how it plays on the
Rotating
car,
mass.
like how that works? Yeah.
Yeah, the weight of the wheel and tire and brake rotor assembly on the spindle, in each corner of your car. I mean, that's spinning with speed while you're driving, obviously. And the weight of that is the rotating mass. And the heavier it is, the more of a detrimental impact it's going to have on all things related to driving, accelerating, braking, cornering, the ability for your suspension system to
Rebound.
articulate, through its stroke. All of those things have a negative impact. The higher the rotating mass, the more of a negative impact every single one of those is going to be. And that might not matter if it's a dedicated street car and you're not rolling very fast. If it's low and slow, who cares? do whatever you want. But like, if you want something that actually performs decently in all of those levels, you're going to want a lighter weight wheel.
Yeah.
And it actually equates the horsepower.
Yes.
We've
so
done the calculations
there's some formulas
on
for
a bunch of different platforms, and it's pretty significant.
Yeah, because another example with me as the case study, Dotson.
Oh well,
I got the.
I'm sorry. It almost seems like we're attacking.
I know.
Your very core.
No. But it's something that I'm also learning too. Dotson. I got my Dotson. I just wanted it to look wider. I wanted a wide body. I built a wide body kit for it from scratch, so it's a build.
It is a build. Yeah,
You did build
qualify
something.
for that. Yeah.
I added after I built the wide body fenders, I also added bigger wheels, pretty much NASCAR wheels. And if you don't know anything about NASCAR wheels, they are Steelies. But I also added a very thick sidewall and a very thick tire. So I have a 15 by 10 inch wheels, and then I have a 285 60 15. So pretty much they're like almost truck size wheels, pretty much. But I just wanted I wanted the race car look to say pretty much. But oh my gosh, I could notice the big difference between before and after adding those. And my acceleration, like I said, each wheel weighs over 60 pounds. Wheel and tire combo with air and everything weighs over 60 pounds. And so that's pretty much almost 300 pounds in general. And that doesn't even account to how much rotating mass or how bad it was. But I noticed a huge loss in power, in response times,
Braking distance.
Braking distance as well. Like even wear of the brakes and all these things. Like because you can't stop it, so you have to hammer the brakes more because you're moving with way more mass. And even corners, entering, exit, everything. You noticed a huge drop. But it looks cool, so that's all that matters.
Well, see, and if that was your intent for your build, then that's a win.
Yeah, but now I'm like I'm done with it because it's so bad. Even in the steering, like all your turning, like it's bad. And you notice these things when it's always very interesting to go back from the Dotson and driving a car that doesn't have that, like. Or just your car that has very heavy wheels, driving the car that doesn't have that, and you notice it's mind-blowing the difference that made or that makes.
It really is. It's so undervalued. Such a profound and incredible impact on the driving experience by going to a lighter weight wheel.
So now what I want to do is get they look like Steelies, but they're actually made from aluminum. So I know Core had one with one of his 911s.
The 911, the recreation.
Yes. Yeah. And I heard they were expensive, but I mean, if it would save, because your wheels, you have a Porsche 911, and you had, what were the weights of the wheels? Because you changed your wheels, right?
Yeah. So I'm rolling around on a set of 17-inch diameter Fixie forged wheels now. They came off of a 993 endurance race car.
Yeah.
And we refinished them. They look super dope, but more importantly, they're strong and they're lightweight.
Are they aluminum or magnesium?
No, they're aluminum. They're forged aluminum. They're super nice. I love them, but I went to those from the factory 18-inch diameter Porsche wheels,
which
and I can't remember,
are quite light.
But they were significantly heavier than what I'm running now. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was something crazy, like almost 20 pounds.
Yes. Yeah.
Almost 20 pounds per wheel that I actually lost by going to the Fixie wheels.
But that's going to a better tire, a smaller diameter tire, a better quality tire, and the Fixie wheels. So from a Porsche, which I think had, I don't know which tires you had on it at the time.
I had, you know what? I had a mismatched set of just meh wheels or tires. They were trash. Doesn't really matter. They were not a top tier tire. So they just happened to be the ones that came on the car when we'd bought it. So the previous owner had those. And so that was a fail.
Yeah.
So 18 inch or 18 pounds per corner, but there's still opportunity to go more.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've weighed a lot of like Michelin Pilot Sports and the Cup tires. And just from going from one brand to another, like some of those tires have been up to like 7 pounds lighter.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like the tire weight is another way to improve in that too.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't really think that, but it's actually
So that goes into it. Like, to give a quick example, like on when we used to do sport bike stuff, we could switch over to rotors. So you took 8 pounds of rotating mass off the front wheel on something like that makes 130, 140 horsepower. It was almost a 10% increase in horsepower.
Oh my God. 10%.
Just by taking that much off the front.
That's crazy.
So you think about taking 100 pounds off of a car that makes 300 horsepower, 325 horsepower, whatever it is. It's pretty significant.
Yeah.
It feels like you're making more power, but you're actually not.
Yeah.
So you're taxing your motor less because you're not trying to make more to push all this heavy shit down the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
I think like there's definitely like you're talking about the rotors, and it reminds me of something that I learned. Like, a lot of people think that, you're going to have these tremendous performance upgrades if you go big diameter rotors and all that stuff in your car, and it does look super cool. And if you're a track driver, you're going to get some gains in that. You're going to get some wins because you're going to get improved heat dissipation, all the stuff. I mean, we could geek right out, but it's going to be heavier, than the smaller diameter factory size. So depending on what your point is, you're going to want to, consider a lot of that kind of stuff. If it's a street car that like might see it a little bit of track duty on occasion, for me in my 911, I left the smaller brake rotors on it because they fit behind the wheels. I was kind of forced into that, but logic is telling me through all this other stuff that was a good play anyways.
Yeah, like Brett and his CLK. Brett has CLK 55. So to go direct comparison without diameter changes, all this kind of stuff, he went to a rep wheel because it was a cooler looking style, but on diameter, tires on size, so no width changes, nothing. And then with the added weight, we worked it backwards, and I did the math on it. Over his OEM ones, it equated to about 55 horsepower.
Oh my gosh.
Based on rotating mass.
Yo.
Because he's like, my car feels like it feels sluggish now.
Wow.
He's like, I feel like I lost acceleration. So just, being a bunch of nerds, we decided to figure out what it actually was and what it equated to. And it was basically equated to about a 55 horsepower loss.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's like one of those underrated things. Like nobody really thinks about that much. I mean, maybe now it's becoming more and more discussed, but I think it's so important.
Yeah.
To consider that. I mean, you're thinking like rotating mass. If you lower rotating mass, you're also taking a lot less wear and tear on your driveline. Every aspect of your suspension is going to be
less taxed.
It's going to get less taxed. It's not going to wear out as fast. Everything is going to be improved.
Yeah.
Make it a point. Save your money. Buy real wheels. Try to get, nice forged wheels.
Gut your interior.
Yeah, just go.
Well, there's that, right? But that doesn't help your suspension from wearing out.
Yeah, that one is probably another episode of like I'll figure out like there's a title there. Yeah, best or fastest or way to go faster for $0.
Fast.
Exactly.
I think we did that.
No, we haven't done that. No, that's best another budget episode. So
okay, we're gonna have to talk about it. You guys are gonna have to comment. Let them know.
Yeah, and so for me, what I said for number 4 and 5 in underrated mods was seats and steering wheel. Do you guys agree? Because I noticed
I think seats definitely plays into it.
Seats, yes. Even though I had my I've had like stock cars or not modified them, I just noticed once you change your seats up, even though they're like some actually you should make sure that they're legal to use. That's one, like sometimes they're not safety tested, or they're just like, so you should make sure that they're good to use. But even cheap seats, they felt so much like in my Dotson, it came with these couch looking seats. Like they just look like you're like about to go hang out at the beach on a couch. I don't even know who goes to the beach.
No
on a couch,
side bolsters.
Yeah, support, it was not good.
No nothing.
And I noticed a huge upgrade. It felt like a different car just changing the seats. It's so much more sporty. It's less comfortable, but I still think it's worth it.
Put a nice set of sticky boy tires on there and hit some serious cornering G's. See what happens with that side bolster. Tim and I had a lowered S10 way back in the day. Well, you had that one that you lowered, and you remember when we first bought it?
Yeah. They used the super auction slick shine, so it looked fresh inside.
Oh yes, yeah.
So
No.
I mean, this is a work truck.
I slid across the bench seat into him and then the passenger.
Yeah, yo, we're like pulling G's in the corner, and he's like almost sitting in my lap in the passenger seat.
And he was the driver.
I don't know how we didn't crash. Kudos to you, that was awesome.
Yeah, they had shit on the floor too, so the floor was shiny. I could barely reach the pedals because it was hanging out the other side.
We need to get some sports seats in this sumbitch.
Wow, that's so funny. That actually reminds me. There's a video that I saw of. It's not. I think it's just seats or like common safety thoughts. But this guy apparently, I don't think he had either. Maybe he didn't have his seatbelt done, or he didn't have seats in the car. But he was like trying to test drive his project car. He made a left turn and he just rolled out of the car.
Oh my god!
That's the one on. Is it the one with the Camaro?
Yeah.
Where he rips it left and then cranks it right and just blows out the door.
Oh my god!
Like, what? Yeah, I don't think he had seats in it, but it just went and crashed into like his neighbor's house or something. So, oh my god!
I think we skipped over brakes.
Oh, we skipped over brakes. Yeah, that's
A
another
simple
important one,
upgrade,
too.
like to a better pad and
Better
maybe
pads?
some lines.
Yeah, brakes are huge, I think, because that is the thing people do not like. A lot of people add power to their car, 1,000 horsepower, but still have stock.
We see it
dinky
every day
brakes.
where it's like they make all this power and it's go fast, but nobody considers that you may need to stop fast. And it seems like I get hit up every other day with a GoFundMe where somebody, is
Has
upside down
crashed.
in a ditch.
Yeah,
So I would say that would be in there too.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that's really important.
And it's
but
an inexpensive one. It's not expensive. You can run stock rotors and just put a better quality pad in to help with it.
Yeah,
yeah, you could, just that simple. If you put a nice, because pads, the pad material comes in different sort of levels of performance and all that. So if you get if you're a track, you're gonna go hit a track day. Just have a set of track day specific pads that you toss in when you're prepping your vehicle for the track that day. Go and race on those. You're gonna get more friction. It's gonna be better. They're gonna wear out faster. You're gonna get more dust. So I know, specifically, like if you have a street car, maybe that's not that much of a priority.
Pads.
I don't want track pads. They're dirt. They make a lot of
Noisier?
dust. They're noisy. They
Your
wear
brake
out
feel.
faster. I mean, so you get some performance upgrades, but it comes at a cost. Detailing wheels is a pain in the ass.
cleaning brake dust.
Hate it.
And you got the
So-
super cool car and you're slowly rolling into a red light and you're the
Oh yeah.
No, I think but actually it's about noise. I don't think it depends on the car because I know a lot of Porsches still make noise, like even though they're brand new. I think Porsche had to put out a press release and it was like your car is not broken if you have squeaky
but they probably
brakes.
supplied with a better level track sort of pad so that they can present it with those numbers.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's just it.
Our braking distance is this based on using this pad, but that pad is probably a low level track pad.
Yeah.
It's noisy and squeaky, and I'm sure you can get a softer option for it, and then it's probably fine. But again, they're using different things to manipulate those numbers to sell you those cars.
Yeah. So if you buy a brand new Porsche and it's making some squeaky sounds because of that, just put some different pads on it.
Yeah,
street car.
You ever driven a car with carbon ceramics?
Carbon ceramics.
In the rain?
Oh my gosh.
man.
Yeah.
Literally sounds like the car's falling apart.
Yeah, and then
That and they don't have any friction
they don't
when
have
it's
any,
wet
they
and
don't have
cold.
any bite when it's wet
Yeah.
and cold. Like the first time in the 458, I thought I was like, whoa,
About to die.
I know. Yeah, the front of my sport bike has, carbon ceramics on it, and it's fucking terrifying when it's cold and wet.
So you
out.
almost have to brake drag just to get the temp
Just
up
to get
for
them up.
to start working.
Yeah. So that's why you see like in high level racing where they have like carbon ceramics, when it's a rain race, they will put the steel rotors on.
Oh yeah, and it's super common. Like even in our little circle of people, a lot of guys will take the carbon ceramics off
And put the steels
steel
on.
brakes on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
because they can't drive fast enough
No.
for it to justify wearing putting the miles on instead of carbon ceramics.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? Cost of ownership on that is way too high.
$8,000 for
take them off
per rotor. Take them off, put steels on, because you're not even getting. It's, I wouldn't say it's a gimmick, but I mean, we all want them. They're crazy.
They're sick. Yeah,
they're super sick.
We don't need them.
No,
we don't need them.
No,
awesome.
Most definitely not. That's a really good upgrade. An underrated upgrade, I think, is good quality brake pads.
Yeah, I think
most vehicles nowadays have decent enough braking systems, like the lines and all that. Like, you don't really need to do that too much. I think it always comes down to what the intended purpose is.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's necessary, and the platform of the vehicle.
Yeah. Awesome. With that said, I think that's pretty much it. We have another meeting.
We could go on and on and on.
Yeah. But build your platform before you try to start building power, because you're giving a lot of power away just in simple things.
Yeah.
Man, get some good tires.
Yeah.
Put some nice quality coilovers on there with actual dampening characteristics.
Yeah. Some nice wheels that are not freaking 60 pounds
some
a wheel.
Lightweight wheels. Save your money. Get some good stuff.
Get some TE37s.
and a big wang on the back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Listen to this podcast. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you have any mods or if you think we didn't talk about any of these underrated mods and you have any, you can share them in the comments, or just share it with us on the comments. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.